You've got lots of real estate questions. Should I downsize? What improvements do I need to make before I sell? What will Connecticut's real estate market be like in 6 months? It's time for The Real Estate Show with Pat Civitella. He's got your answers. Call 203-333-9422. Now, here's your host, Pat Civitella.
Hello to everyone, and good evening. Thanks for tuning in to The Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Pat Civitella, with over 35 years' experience in the real estate investing game. And this show is about creating long-term wealth through real estate investing and also producing passive residual income with real estate. I'm going to share with you my knowledge over the 35 years and my guidance and give you information that a lot of people are not aware of, and also how to develop a secondary and primary income from real estate investing. And besides that, also, we're going to talk a lot on this show about different home improvement tips and how to increase the value of your property, and also how to get your best bang for your buck on remodels and home improvements. So please, if you have any questions, call in early, because the show we're limited on time. It's only 30 minutes and it goes by quick. The phone number here is 203-333-9422. That's 203-333-WICC, 600 AM, 107.3 FM. Okay, so first, this show is brought to you by our friends at 1-800-Mr. Junker, junk removal made easy. They will take the good, the bad, and the ugly. No need to do except for point to what you want gone, either one item or complete house or business clean out. They do garages, attics, basements, yards. 1-800-Mr. Junker is ready to serve you, serving Fairfield and New Haven counties for over 15 years. Please call our friends there and mention my name, Pat Civitella, on WICC, and you'll get 10% off your job. Yes, call 1-800-Mr. Junker for your junk removal. Same-day service available. They also offer a hot tub removal specialist, and also have a free junk removal service. Again, that's 1-800-Mr. Junker. Call them, and you'll be happy that you did. Okay, so the first order of business tonight is, we have a couple things, but first I promised my granddaughter that I would mention her name because it was her birthday this past Saturday. We had a nice party for her at the house on Sunday. So I want to wish happy birthday to my granddaughter Mia Civitella, 7 years old, and you will always be Big Pop's baby doll, no matter what age you are. I love you very much. Okay, honey? I'll see you soon this week. Okay, then we're going to go to how to get a hold of me during the week. Again, the show is very short and quick. I'm going to give you my email and my phone number at my office. It's Pat Civitella, and that's PATCIVITELLA @gmail.com. And my office number is 203-736-2484. If you have any questions about real estate, buying, selling, any type of home improvements, or any type of questions I can help you with, just give me a call, or you could contact me by email. Okay? All right, so we're going to go right into my new segment, which is called What Happened to Pasquale This Week. Now, I'm not sure if you know who Pasquale is, but that's me. You know, I'm Pasquale, but everybody calls me Pat. So we're going to get started into that. So this week, my son and his crew started a 3-family remodel house that we've had sitting, unfortunately, vacant since 2019. So it's almost 5 years, Rich, 4 or 5 years. And the backstory is I purchased the property in 2006. We had it occupied up until right around 2019, and then we got stuck with, then it became vacant, and my plans were to remodel the property, and then COVID hit. And we got jammed up with all kinds of stuff because we had 2 or 3 projects going on at the same time. Materials, we couldn't get materials, couldn't get help. I mean, it was just seemed like, it was like being like in a boxing ring, Rich, and just getting hit left and right and going down and coming back up. And so this week we finally got to the property again, and this is going to be a complete remodel from top to bottom. We've gutted. My son and his crew have gutted the whole property down to the studs, and we're going to bring it back to everything up to date, new plumbing, electrical, HVAC, the whole 9 yards. And the reason I'm bringing this up is, I'm fortunate enough to be able to carry the property, maintain the property, because we had 3 or 4 projects going on during that process. But real estate could be just like the old saying is, you open up a can of worms, because originally we went into this property back 2019, and the plan was, because we had a vacant unit, we were just going to remodel that unit, with the quotations, just remodel. Then what happened is my son got into the project, started to take down some walls or doors, and all of a sudden you start opening up the floor because something was wrong with the floor, or the toilet was sinking, the whole 9 yards. So you start with that, and like I said, it's like opening up a can of worms. So unfortunately, we opened that up, and then he just gutted that whole apartment. Come to find out, there was some fire damage years ago that weren't correct, weren't repaired correctly. So we addressed that issue. The floors were just, a mess. They were just, all off-centered and uneven. So the point of me bringing this up is, like, sometimes, you get into something that you think it's going to be easy, and it turns into be a big project, in which this is, and this is what it's turning out to be. But I am happy to get back to the property, and I'm glad my son is on top of everything there, because without him, I wouldn't be able to do this project on my own, because there's so much involved. I mean, we've taken down almost every wall, every floor, opened up. The whole thing is just a giant shell. And we ran into some other issues, which this happens in real estate, is we had a water problem. We had water coming into the lower level, and it was like continuous water coming in. And, temporarily last year, we kind of patched it up. My son dug out a giant hole in the corner of the building and put in a pump that would activate once it fills up. And I'm telling you, Rich, that pump was going like every 10 minutes. It's just like, because the problem is, one of the issues we have with that property is the back of the property is up against this giant incline, like straight up, and up above, it's a huge mountain. And, whenever it rains or there's water, it seems like there's constant water coming through. So we're addressing that issue right now. We had to take down this little addition that was in the back of the property. Again, we originally just went to take down a couple walls because there was some rotted, some wood and some termite damage. And, after we opened up one wall, all the walls came down. So it's never a easy battle sometimes, So that's one of the things that we're working on this week, and that's what happened to Pasquale this week. And but again, I'm glad that we're back at the project, at the property, and we're going to see this through. And hopefully, we'll probably be done with the project. I'm estimating like 3 months. We'll be, from top to bottom, we'll be all done, and it'll be a nice project once it's done. And I always got to make a note, because I always forget. Luckily, my son takes a lot of pictures, but I always forget to do the befores and after. And people always say, "Oh, look, do you have a picture?" Yeah, I thought I did, but I didn't. So that's the little segment on what happened to Pasquale this week. So we're gonna move on to something else here. I wanted to go back to the caller we had last week, just to expand a little bit. She had called in about painting an apartment that she had a tenant in and so forth. You remember that, Rich? And I just wanted to bring that up. Is sometimes the apartments or just being a tenant, like, because I was also a tenant when we were first married for, I think, 3 or 4 years. And I also was a tenant when I've been in business all my life, so I rented office space or had businesses. So I've been a tenant for many years. My point of bringing this up is, even when we came to this country, when I was a little boy, my mom and dad rented an apartment that we lived in. If we wanted to change something, specifically, if we wanted to paint something, we didn't go ask the landlord for the paint. We asked for the permission, but we didn't go ask for the paint or to help us out. Sometimes you got to do it, take it upon yourself. For years, I just did all the painting and maintenance myself because I felt like it was, I'm enjoying the space. It's my space, so I took pride in it, and I felt like it was my responsibility. I didn't think it was the landlord's responsibility. So I just wanted to bring that up, just to bring that to everyone's attention. Sometimes it's up to the tenant, and the tenant should be proactive, and you want a nice place to live, you want a nice surroundings. Take it upon yourself. Sometimes paint is not that expensive, and then you can just take care of that yourself, and it's a big help. So I wanted to bring that up. Next thing is we're going to be talking about the show's about real estate investing, and what I wanted to bring to everybody's attention that there is lots of different aspects of real estate investing. Not necessarily being a landlord. That's one aspect of it, but I wrote down about 5 or 6 different ones that came off the top of my head. But, you could do real estate investing, with, for one example, I know, some people that just strictly invest in storage units. That's also real estate investing. So storage units is a very hands-off operation if somebody is interested in that avenue of real estate investing. I mean, I know one gentleman that I think it has over like 300 units, just storage units. And most of the buildings, I think he has 5 or 6 buildings, and he only has maybe 1 or 2 people working there at each building. So it doesn't take a lot of manpower to run these operations, but your return on these storage units could be phenomenal. So I wanted to bring that to everybody's attention, that real estate is not necessarily being a landlord or multifamilies, what I specialize in. This could be a very passive investment for a lot of people. So storage units was the number one thing I wrote down. Next thing is mobile home parks, and people kind of cringe on that. I know a lot of times when you mention that, but years ago I looked into that, but I never pulled the trigger or never went further on that because to me the mobile home parks that were looked like they were profitable were too far out of my area. Like they were like all in upstate New York, probably like 3, 4, 5 hours away, or you had to go down to the Carolinas and that section. And I'm the type of investor or the type of person that I want to be like within an hour or less from a place that I own, because if something goes wrong or something needs attention, I want to be able to get there ASAP, if necessary. So, and that's why I specialize in continued in multifamily investing. So mobile home parks could be very lucrative. Again, I know people that have been doing that for years. I know another guy that's got, I think, like almost 1,000 units. I mean, you do the math on that. The average lot rent right now for mobile home parks, the last time I spoke to this gentleman, is about $500 a month for the lots for mobile home parks. So please don't pass those by. Mobile home parks is very lucrative, and multifamily is what what we've been talking about on this show for a while. That we could go into that further, but we're going to go into a quick break, and then we got a couple callers, or 1 or 2 callers, I think, 1 caller online. So I'm going to take a quick break, and then we're going to go right to the caller, and then we'll get back to the show.
Got real estate questions? Call 203-333-9422 and ask Uncle Pat.
Okay, so we're back from our little break. I think we have a caller on, right? Is that Rich? All right. Yes.
Yeah, it's Rich from Hamden. Is this Pat?
Yes, it is. How are you, Rich?
Oh, excellent. So I've listened to your show before, and you seem like you really know what you're doing. You do. Proof is in the pudding.
Yeah, I've been doing it for a while, and it's been a great journey, and I still loved it. And like I was telling Rich, or I was telling the audience before about not the dilemma, but the ups and downs of this business. And sometimes you got to take the good with the bad.
Oh, that's true. You know, it's funny because I was talking to a stockbroker the other day, and he said to me, "Well, in 10 years, this stock could double, guaranteed." Is real estate a better investment than stocks, or the same, or what?
Well, my opinion is always real estate is the best investment, just due to the fact that everyone always needs a place to live. And there's two things that everybody needs: is food and shelter. And I chose to get involved with the shelter part of the equation.
So is it good to think about making money on buying properties when you sell, or how does that work? I don't know.
Yeah, you always make your money when you're buying, not when you sell. When you buy, you make the money. When you sell is when you realize it, but you make the money when you're buying, and then you continue to collect the monthly income, or the as I say, the goose that lays the golden egg every month. And tomorrow is the first of the month again.
And are tenants tough to deal with?
They can be, but I think over the years you kind of wean out the not the problem people, but you become a little bit more efficient. And I've been doing this for 35 years, and I think I would say 95% of our tenants are fantastic.
Are there times when buying real estate is better than the other, or it's like a pig in the poke? You don't quite get it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you always have to do your homework. You got to do your due diligence. And you got to do the simple math on the numbers also, too, because, you can't be just buying anything at any price, especially in today's market. To be honest with you, Rich, the prices are very high. So you got to really, really do your homework and pick the right property. Because I remember years ago, I had some guy says, I overpaid for this property, but, he goes, in 10 years, I'll make it up with the back end or the equity. I says, that's not how I invest. I want to invest from the get-go that I'm making money, not hoping in 10 years I'm going to be making money.
Do you ever think about borrowing money from the buyer, the seller rather? Will the seller ever take back mortgage on sometimes?
Absolutely. People don't realize that's available, but I've done that over the years, probably at least a half a dozen times or more, but if I could borrow money from the seller, and not go through that mortgage process, I would do that all day long, and I would do it every day.
Oh, boy. Those are good news. It seems scary for us who don't know that much about the real estate game, but do you learn as you go along sometimes?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just like with anything else, you learn as you go, and it's the old saying, you got to crawl before you walk. And that's simple.
I heard a phrase once. I don't remember who said it, but it was like something like "the devil's in the details." What does that mean? What does that mean?
Yeah, the devil's in the details means you got to do your homework, and you got to worry about all the little stuff that people want to. Like when you're painting a home, everybody looks at the finished product and they say, "Oh yeah, it looks great," but how about all those little corners around the windows or around the doors, the little detail that people want to, skip over or don't really take their time with it. It's that's what the devil's in the detail is. Everybody wants the glory without doing the little gritty bitty stuff.
Oh, I know.
Right.
Well, thanks for your advice, and I look forward to listening to you next week. Thanks again.
Thanks,
Pat.
Rich. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night. Okay, so trying to think where I left off. Oh, we were talking about the different types of investing in real estate, and we left off with multifamily, which that's what I specialize in, or that's my cup of tea for real estate investing. And then there's also totally passive if people don't want to get involved with anything like phone calls or tenants and stuff like that. There's REITs out there which are called real estate investment trusts that are run by big companies, and all these companies do. They're on the stock market. All these companies do invest in real estate, and they'll specialize either like in multifamily, they'll specialize in commercial, they'll specialize in, some of them will do like data centers. And what you do is you buy their stocks, whatever you want to invest, you buy their stocks, and it's totally passive, and a lot of them have a good return as far as dividends, and it's totally 100% liquid. So if you want to, anytime you want to get out, say, okay, I want to cash out. So you sell your stocks, on the stock market, and you're completely out. But there's a lot of good REITs out there that's all they do is real estate investing. And if you have any questions or you need any information on that, feel free to call me or email me. But that's totally passive and easy to do. Another one is also there's private capital investment companies out there. There's a few of them out there off the top of my head that I listen to their podcasts. And they're always trying to raise funds. There's one guy that I know that they just bought a 200 unit down in Dallas, and they're buying it at like 20 or 30% below market value because of the previous owner had some financial problems. So they're able to come in, and they're looking for accredited investors, put up some money, and it's guaranteed by the real estate. And they offer great returns, and a lot of it's short term. Like, you don't have to tie this up for 20, 10, 15 years. A lot of it's like 2 years, 5 years, and they're offering returns of like 10% or more. Again, you got to do your homework and you got to do your due diligence. But a lot of those they exist out there that they're looking for private lenders, and they have great returns on it. And these guys have been doing it for probably about 30, 40 years now. And another form of real estate investing that people are probably not aware of, that I don't know if you know, Rich, you can become a private lender. Like, for instance, a lot of people have money sitting in their 401ks, IRAs, or just even into the bank. And then there's a lot of real estate investors that are always looking for money because they do these, what we call flips in the business, that they need short term, 1 year, maybe 2 years at the most. And a lot of these investors will pay 12% interest on your money, and it's guaranteed by the real estate. So it's not like you're just putting money out and you got no guarantees. So, like, if anybody out there has any interest in doing that, please contact me, because I have probably about half a dozen guys that are always looking for money. They'll pay 12% interest, and everything is done through attorneys, and everything is legitimate. And it's guaranteed by the real estate that they're purchasing it. So, you're in first position. You're in essence acting like the bank. Instead of them going to a traditional mortgage or a bank and getting a mortgage loan, you come in and say, okay, here's the money. I'm going to pay you 12% interest, plus they pay you like 2 or 3 points on top at the closing. So let's say it's $100,000, Rich, that you're lending to John down the street there. He's going to give you 3 points. He's going to pay you $3,000 for the note, and then he's going to pay you $1,000 a month on the note at 12% interest.
How much research would you have to do as far as finding somebody that, with using your own money to invest in something like that? I mean, are they real reliable?
Well, you would obviously do some research. You could always contact me. Like I said, I always have about a half a dozen guys always looking for money. As a matter of fact, I had somebody from the show that was listening to the show last week call me at my office and says, "Oh, Pat, I was listening to the show." He goes, "I got this project, that I need some money on. It's land that I'm buying. I'll put up all the money for the land, but he needs more money to do the build. And so I gave him a couple names and so forth. But, obviously, but the research you could do on your own. You could also have your attorney do the research or, a third party. But as long as you have the guarantee of the real estate, it's really, it's kind of secure, in my opinion,
And it doesn't have to be a large sum. I mean, you're thinking of do I have to loan somebody $100,000, or I heard you mention like 10 or 12,000?
Yeah, it would probably have to be like a minimum. In today's market, it would probably have to be like 100,000. Yeah, to get anything going, because the average price of a home, even something that's got to be fixed up, is going to be like $200,000 or $300,000. But you could get 2 or 3 investors each give $100,000. And be in first position of the note, Do
you ever run into it where somebody gets to a point where they've got the loans to get the property and they're doing things, and then they realize that they need just a few more $1,000 further?
Absolutely, all the time. Because what happens is a lot of people always underestimate how much money it's going to take and time. And yes, they have a budget, let's say $100,000, and then they're short like $25,000. Yes, and they do come out and solicit for those types of funds too. But in that situation, you could be in second position. It all depends on what type of risk tolerance that an individual has.
Because you mentioned the property that you and your son are dealing with, where you started opening things up and you found some fire damage and things.
Yes.
And so you're thinking maybe X number of dollars, and then suddenly,
I
didn't anticipate this and this. And
Absolutely. Yeah, that happens a lot of times too. How much time do we have, Rich?
Minute and a half.
Minute and a half. Okay. Well, let's go right into the closing notes. Here are the closing notes for this week. Is excuse me. Remember that there's good debt and bad debt. Buy assets, not liabilities. I say that all the time. Number 3 is pay yourself first. I don't know if I went into that last week, but I will cover it next week. I'm going to make a note of that. And I always spend all of my time, or majority of my time, building my residual income or passive income. Here's another one, too, is dig the well before you need it, Rich. So that's the old Boy Scouts, too. Be prepared. Again, you make a living from 9 to 5, you become wealthy from 5 to midnight. And that's my closing notes. I'm gonna sign off with buonasera a tutti. Ci vediamo la prossima settimana, si vuol Dio. God bless America, and thank you for tuning into the show. And we'll see you next week. Have a good night.